Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Thiem. I'm with the National Weather Service office in Peachtree City. This is your weekly weather briefing for Thursday, December 28th, 2017. Some of the highlights that we're going to talk about a little bit for this weather briefing. We have three outside chances for some wintry precipitation in the forecast area. The first one being tonight for east central Georgia into Friday morning, and the second one being on New Year's Eve with some chances for light snow for north and central Georgia. And the third one being mid next week, looking mostly for Tuesday night into Wednesday with some variability in that time frame. And also looking at an Arctic blast, it looks like it's going to be coming through the area at the beginning of next week, giving us some pretty frigid temperatures out in our forecast area. So looking at for the outlook for Thursday, we have a stronger high pressure centered over just south of the Great Lakes area that's pushing a lot of cold air into our area. In fact, this front that you see here just south of Miami came through yesterday from this high pressure system as it forced a lot of cool, dry air into our area. If you look a little bit closer, the area shaded in green are where we expect some of the rain to fall today. This is in association with some Gulf Coast moisture that's increasing precip chances overriding that front. For today, we're mostly expecting highs there in the mid to low 40s, with lows getting into night in the low 30s and upper 20s up to the far northern portions of the state. And we do have an outside chance, as I mentioned, for some wintry type of precip. It's mostly for east central Georgia. Basically, we have some outside chances for some freezing drizzle out in those areas. This is one of our model guidance that we look at, the North American model. And actually, it's one of the more aggressive models that are highlighting towards this particular solution. A lot of other model runs either have the moisture much further south and not having as much precip up in the central portions of the state, or has us being above freezing temperature throughout central Georgia. So we're basically waiting for some cold air to catch up to some precip. And if those two things were to happen over a very small area, we could see some freezing drizzle. We're not expecting much impacts from this. Mostly no ice accumulations. However, a little bit of glaze on some elevated surfaces like bridges and overpasses could become hazardous, at least for a few hours in the morning time period until we get above freezing. So if you live there in east central Georgia, especially around like the Dublin and Vidalia area, please use caution if you're going out on the roads early Friday morning. Looking at Friday into Saturday, Friday we're going to warm up pretty quick. We're looking at highs around 50 up to the mid 40s up to the far northern part of the state, and highs in the low to mid 50s and upper 40s there on Saturday. But that's not going to last for too long after Saturday. Once we get into Saturday afternoon and evening, we have a really strong cold front that's going to come through that's being forced through by a high pressure system that's going to be moving in from Canada and going by Tuesday be over the Ozarks region. But that's going to be pushing in a lot of cold air into the area. In fact, looking at our high temperatures for the next 7 days, we can see this steady uptrend from today into Saturday. But once that front will push through, we're looking at highs, and I'm doing high temperatures in the mid 30s to up to 40 for the next several days afterwards. Looking at New Year's Eve, it's going to be our second chance to get some wintry precip around here. We're looking for Sunday. That rain snow line is going to be much further up north, and these are our high temperatures over here. So once we back off of the high temperatures in the late afternoon, early evening time period, this is what we could be looking at. However, look at the precip chances over on the left side. We're looking at extremely low precipitation chances, and in fact, even though we're seeing around 20s for the metro, 15 for Trenton and Dalton, and 30 for Columbus, these chances are actually going to back off for our afternoon package. At least that's what we're expecting at this time. As we go out in time, we're seeing really the Euro is the only model that's really hinting at any type of wintry precipitation, and it's trending downward. The GFS has us completely dry. So we're really looking at back off on these precip chances New Year's Eve. Going into the evening time period, we see that rain snow line is now going to be kind of along I-16 and then west over to about Columbus, Americus and Columbus area. We could see kind of a mix in that area with snow, some very light snow up to the north of it. But again, we're looking at slight chance precipitation numbers right now, and actually that's going to be a downward trend as we move into the evening hours. We're probably going to look at slight chance pops at best by the time we get our afternoon forecast out. Looking again at Monday, we see that high pressure is starting to make its way into the northern plains. The shaded areas here are chances of precipitation. You see they were still pretty low there on Monday with the rain snow line there over from about Columbus over to the Vidalia area. But really, look at those temps though. Those low temperatures Monday morning. We're getting up to quite a bit below freezing, 26 by Monday. But by the time we get to Tuesday, we're looking at temps to really start to plummet there. We're looking at teens up in northern parts of the state, north of I-85 and I-20, with low 20s for most of the rest of our forecast area. But with some gusty winds coming in that morning, we're looking at wind chills that could get up into the single digits for the far northern part of the state and into the teens around the greater metro region. So be sure if you're out there Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday morning, be sure to bundle up. It's going to be pretty cold. And finally, our last round of wintry weather might come on Tuesday night going into Wednesday as the timing right now, but that could change a little bit as it gets closer. Right now, this is actually an increasing trend. The GFS still has us dry, but the Euro is putting in for some pretty heavy precip chances that don't actually extend in this area, but it's actually stemming all the way up for north and central Georgia. And look for this to come out in our afternoon package. We are expecting these precip chances to increase as we get a little closer to time, especially by this afternoon, as the Euro is starting to be really aggressive with some of the precip that they are expecting. However, some of the heavier bands are going to set up here, at least right now, it looks like in the Columbus to Macon to Dublin, Americus region, with a rain-snow wintry mix line around that area as well. So really we're looking for east central to be kind of the heavier snow chances if this does evolve. With some lighter accumulations up north. But again, right now we're only looking at a slight chance of snow in these regions. That is an upward trend, but we're not going to jump to likely snow that quickly. It's still an outside chance. Like I mentioned, the GFS, which is the American version of the model, still has us very dry throughout that entire time period. So there's not a whole lot of consistencies right now in between the multiple model runs. And once that starts to come together a little closer to time, we'll have a little bit better idea about what will happen. Really, it's not a question about whether or not we'll have lift in the area. That seems a lot more certain. A question is, where is the moisture going to be? The GFS has been trending the entire model run to be much further south for the entire period, whereas the Euro tends to be a little bit more aggressive in bringing moisture up towards at least the southern portions of Georgia, if not the northern portions of Georgia. So we're going to have to see how this shakes out. It's still an outside chance, but it could be the best chance, at least right now, of some decent accumulations across the area. Looking at our drought statement right now, we are sitting at moderate drought for a good portion of the southern part of the state. Compared to 3 months ago, that's definitely not a positive sign, but it's a lot better than we were doing last year, where most of these areas where we didn't have any drought were in exceptional drought. So we're happy to not see that at this time of year, but we do have drought increasing for the southern portions of the state. And looking at some of the 7-day precipitation accumulations, we're not really looking to help that cause much. At least within our forecast area, we're not really expecting much more than 1/4 of an inch, if we get up to 1/4 of an inch, with barely up to 1/2 an inch of accumulations throughout the entire state for the next week. Looking at the extended for a little bit, looks like we're pretty confident that we're going to be seeing some pretty cold temps after those Arctic blasts keep moving through. We're looking at over a 60% chance of seeing below normal temps for most of our forecast region, and about a normal to below normal period of dryness for the same area. So just to summarize a little bit, we're expecting 3 chances of possible wintry weather in our forecast area. Tonight's not really looking so good, but there is a very slight chance of some freezing drizzle for east central Georgia, and that is a downward trend. If we don't see anything out there, we would be expecting not to really see anything out there. We'd be more surprised if there was something there for freezing drizzle down in that mostly Vidalia area down there and close to Dublin. But it is a possibility, and we have to keep that in mind. New Year's Eve, we could also see some light snow across north and central Georgia, but again, this is a downward trend. Maybe a couple flurries is what we might be looking at right now, and even that's a slight chance, but we'll have to see once we get a little closer to time. where that Gulf moisture, how far that's really going to advect northward to see if we'll even get those chances. But the best chance right now actually looks to be mid next week by the time we get our next forecast package in. Chances will be slight because we're still concerned about how much moisture we can get into our area with a lot of cold, dry air underwriting it. But if we do get that moisture up, we could see some accumulations there for north and central Georgia, but we'll have to get much closer to time before we can really start to pin anything down. But even what might be even more significant for that, just because we have higher confidence in, is this cold air that's going to be moving through to start off the new year. By the time we get into Sunday through Wednesday, we're looking at highs in the 30s, lows in the teens to low 20s, with some single-digit wind chills out there. So be sure to bundle up if going outside early morning. And once again, my name is Kyle Thiem here at the National Weather Service office in Peachtree City. If you guys have any questions for us, feel free to reach out through us through Twitter or Facebook, or feel free to call us if you have any major questions as well. With that, hope you guys all have a happy new year.